Hello, this lesson is a very basic introduction to angles, angle measures, types of angles, naming angles, etc. You are going to need a protractor for this, okay? So if you do not have a protractor, you need to pause and find one. Hopefully you're in the classroom. I have tons of protractors to go around. Or if you have your own, I want you to go get it because we're going to look at how to use a protractor, measuring a protractor, that kind of thing. So let's go over some basics. This is a lot of vocab in this top section of our notes. An angle. If you look at this angle in this diagram, it's formed by two rays. We've talked about these. Two rays with a common endpoint. Notice the two rays meet at endpoint B. The common endpoint of that angle is called the vertex. So if I ever say the vertex of an angle, it's kind of like the center point of the angle. It's where those two rays meet. The rays are called the sides. The two rays make up the sides of the angles. And we are going to name an angle several ways, actually. So you can name an angle using 1 or 3 letters. If you're using 3 letters, the middle letter must be the vertex. If you use a single letter, that means there's only one angle at the vertex. So let me give you an example of that really quick. You already see the example drawn here. There's only one angle at vertex B. So that means I could call this angle B if I wanted to, just because that's really simple. If I say angle B, I know exactly what you're talking about in this diagram. I could also name it using 3 letters as long as the middle letter is the vertex. So I could name it angle A, B, C, because B is my vertex. Or I could actually go the other way, which seems silly, but I could call it angle CBA too if I wanted to, as long as B's in the middle. So what it means by only one angle at the vertex, if I had something like this, let me show you. You can draw this with me if you would like. Let's throw some letters in here. A, D, B, C. If I had something like this, the vertex is obviously D, but there's actually multiple angles here. This is one where you have to use 3 letters. This is multiple angles at one vertex. This is where you would have to use 3 letters. Because if I just say angle D, you don't know which angle I'm talking about. I could be talking about this angle. That's angle D. I could be talking about this angle. That's angle D. Or I could actually be talking about the angle as a whole. That's angle D as well. They all have a vertex of D. You can't read my mind, so you have to be more specific if you have multiple angles at the same vertex. I have to say like angle ADB. If I say angle ADB, then you know I'm talking about this one. If I say angle BDC, then you know I'm talking about this one. Hopefully that makes sense. So types of angles. This should be a review, okay? If you have an angle that is less than 90 degrees, it's called an acute angle. I think of it as a cute little angle. It's smaller than 90 degrees. If you have one that's greater than 90 degrees or between 90 degrees and 180, it's an obtuse angle. This is a right angle. That means it's 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Notice the little box here. Anytime you see that box, it's a right angle. If you don't see the box, you cannot assume. And then this is called a straight angle. It just looks like a line. This one's 180 degrees. It's like if you took 2 right angles and you put them together. It makes a straight line, 180. All right, so example 1, we're gonna name this angle multiple different ways. It says name the vertex of the angle. The vertex of the angle is wherever the rays meet. The vertex here is K. You're just gonna put K. Vertex is a point, so it doesn't need any notation, just K. Name the sides of the angle. Remember, the sides are rays. So one side would be KL. Think back to our very first lesson. If I'm naming rays, the end point goes first, and then you pick one other point that ray extends through, and you use the ray symbol. So KL is a side, it's a ray, and then KJ is the other side. Starts at K, extends through J with the ray symbol. Part C, give 3 ways to name the angle. All right, one way to name the angle, since there's only one angle in the picture, I could just name it angle K, because that's my vertex. Notice I'm using the angle symbol. I don't think I mentioned that up above. I really should have. When you're naming an angle, you use this symbol. I just assumed y'all knew what I was talking about. That symbol just means angle, and it looks just like an angle. So the other ways we can name the angle is using 3 letters. Remember, the only catch is if you're using the 3 letters, the vertex has to be the middle letter. So I could call it angle L, K, J, or I could call it angle, and go the other way, J, K, L. I cannot say J, L, K, because L is not the vertex, it's not in the middle. And then it says classify the angle. What I mean by that is tell me what type it is. Well, if you look at it, it's definitely not a 90-degree angle because you don't see the box, so it's not a right angle. And it does look wider. It's open wider than a 90-degree angle, so that's obtuse. All right, I want you to try example 2, pause, see if you can go through these. Hopefully you're able to do that. The vertex is S. The sides are ray ST and ray SR. 3 ways to name the angle. We can call it angle S, angle RST, or angle TSR. Make sure you're using the angle symbol. The symbol is important. Classify the angle. It's a right angle. Means it's 90 degrees because you see that box. 90 degrees. Congruent angle. So we talked about congruent in the last lesson. So if hang on, I was trying to think about what goes in. Oh, if equal measure. It's like, what word goes here? Remember, congruent means equal measure. I was about to write that off to the left, but it just goes in the blank. If angles have equal measure, then they are congruent. It's written as, look at the picture on the right. Notice how it says AB is 75 degrees and B is 75 degrees. So I can write angle A is congruent to angle B. You can also mark it in the picture so it doesn't tell us to do it, but let's do it anyways. If you remember from the last set of notes, if I have segments and I'm marking them congruent, you put little tick marks. So these are segments that are congruent. If you have angles that are congruent, instead of tick marks, you put these little arcs. So if you ever see matching numbers of arcs,